Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Today, I will be reading from the r/EntitledPeople subreddit, so let's jump into it. Neighbor lets herself in while I am home alone. I apologize in advance for grammar, vocab, or typos. I'm on mobile, and English is not my native language. The absurdism of this occurrence still has me reeling. However, I felt as though I should share, as I find it slightly comical after the initial irritation has already passed. The cast, entitled Neighbor, 40-year-old female, and me, 16-year-old female. I was, to my knowledge, alone and taking a shower, as my parents had gone out to run an errand. I had the window in the shower slightly ajar, so I could hear when my parents pulled into the driveway and opened the front door. About 5 minutes later, I heard the front door open and shut. My first thought was, oh, my parents are home, and I continued to shower. Foolish as I am, I didn't think twice about the fact that I didn't hear the car pull in. I finished not long after, and I walked out of the bathroom fully clothed, thankfully, and began skipping to the living room. Then, on the couch seated was a middle-aged woman who I definitely did not know, drinking some of my older sister's juice, meaning she had been in our fridge unconsented. I was a bit too stunned to speak. Not scared per se, as this woman did look harmless and appeared to be unarmed. I tried to reach for my phone on the dining table to call the police, but she stood up and blocked me. I could apprehend her if necessary. However, this woman easily looked like one of my mother's clients, and my mother has a tendency of letting people over without informing me beforehand, so I thought this could be another instance of that, so I was not overly concerned. The following conversation ensued. You look just like your mother. I look nothing like my mother. Oh, but you have your brother's eyes. I don't have a brother. Ah, then you're your father's daughter. You would know better than me. I haven't seen him in 5 years. This was false, but I wanted to see if she knew this. Who are you? That's my question. Why are you in my house? Your house? You're a child. Don't speak to me like that. Where are your parents? No joke. This woman really had the audacity to say this. That's none of your concern. Now, kindly leave before I call the authorities. You, what kind of people raise such a snobby bitch? Excuse me, you are in my home. Move aside, please. I step around her and brush her with my shoulder as I grab my phone. Entitled Neighbor begins banshee screaming that I have assaulted her by shoving her aside. I get my phone, about to call my parents, when I heard the garage door open. I think whatever lord there is, and rush to the door. I run to my dad and started babbling about the strange woman who trespassed into our home while I was showering. Less than 20 minutes later, cops are pulling up to our home, and Neighbor is escorted to the station. My dad told her to stay put if she didn't want him to press charges. When they find out she is our new neighbor, and this was her attempt of getting to know us, I am mortified, and express my opinion to my dad that he should press charges. Neighbor begins banshee screaming again and said that he said he wouldn't. After a quick look at our home security cameras, our case was proclaimed valid, and my dad is pressing charges. I don't know the mechanics or specifics of it all, but I'm happy he took my opinion into consideration. Edit. I see the same comment that the door was not locked. It was! I swear I made sure everything was locked before I got in the shower. We have a very quiet lock on our door, but a very creaky door itself. That's why I heard the door open. I honest to God have no clue how she undid the lock. I'm sorry if I implied that I had left the door open, but no, that wasn't the case. My dad would never allow me. This woman definitely seems a bit unhinged, and I really want to know how she got in. If the door was indeed locked, maybe she got in through a window and then opened the door afterwards? Who knows? But that is insane. And the weird comments about how OP looks like certain family members was creepy as heck. Honestly, that whole scenario was like a horror movie in the making. It's also very possible though that this woman was just high on drugs. Drugs are bad, okay? You shouldn't do drugs, okay? If you do them, you're bad, because drugs are bad, okay? It's a bad thing to do drugs, so don't be bad by doing drugs, okay? Don't be bad, okay? Entitled neighbor expects his utility bill to be paid. This was late 1990s in rural South Carolina. Rather important context. My relative Natalie is an out lesbian. Indeed, she and her partner, Sherry, were in discussion to be the plaintiffs in a legal case seeking to overturn bans on same-sex marriage. Sherry got a job as a high-powered engineer for a major international company and moved to South Carolina. Wanting to live in a more rural area, Sherry and Natalie found a home that was a converted barn sitting on about 8 acres, complete with a pool, private lake, small fruit orchard, and some open fields. As the property had some electrical drops in various parts of the property, the sellers let Sherry know that there are actually 3 electric meters for the property, each billed separately. The main house was on one, there was a hookup on a light pole in the orchard, and there was one more for a well on the property. Go figure. The 2 meters that were not the main house were cheap, so Sherry and Natalie didn't give it much thought. After they were living there for a few months, Natalie mentioned that the electric bill for the well pump went way up. Nothing outrageous, but from like $6 per month to nearly $40. Curious, I did some back of the napkin calculations and found that the 1/4 horsepower pump would have needed to run 24/7 for about 25 days straight to use that much electricity. It was just the 2 of them living there, and there was no way they could have used that much water. Something wasn't right. And so, I began a bit of an investigation, looking for a leak. I followed the water line out of the house, and oddly, it ran off away from the well and out in the field. I followed the line back into the edge of the woods behind the barn, and found, much to everyone's surprise, another well with its own pump powered from the main house. So, what the hell was this other pump in the field for? And so, I started digging. Surprisingly, that well ran to the neighbor's house. And that is when we finally got the full story. The neighbor was the pastor at the church where the former homeowners attended. They had an arrangement that the former homeowner let the pastor get his water from the well on the farm, and the former homeowner just paid the bill. But somehow, there had been an electrical fault to ground. IIRC. I don't really understand electrical stuff much. And the meter was spinning almost non-stop. That's why the bill spiked. So Sherry, not wanting to rock the boat, offered the pastor continued use of the well if he would fix the electrical issue and get the meter into his name. But he refused. He insisted that he had the right to free well water at Sherry's expense and got rather unpleasant about it. This is what God wanted. And similar proclamations were hurled Sherry's way. Fine, her well, her pump. Sherry gave him a couple weeks' notice and disconnected the electrical meter. No pump, no water. No longer her problem. Rather than agreeing to reimburse Sherry maybe $80 in excess bills over a couple months, paying to get the pump fixed, and taking over the rather modest bill, we saw a well drilling rig at the pastor's house a few days later. Must have been thousands of dollars. To cap it off, Natalie talked Sherry into doing something else with that well. They did fix the pump, ran a new water line, and built a bathroom with showers, all for their new, women-only, lesbian campground. The campground didn't last particularly long as a business. It mostly just covered some basic expenses for a few large events each summer. But if not for the pastor's obstinance, it might never have existed at all. Now, I have heard of the power of Jesus, but I don't think he was referring to literal electricity, or that you should steal water and hike up someone's utility bill. But maybe the pastor misread that part? And now, pastor got his rightful karma, and now has to pay thousands more getting his own resources. But you know what the Redditors always say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And this is a prime example of that. But anyways, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed these 2 Entitled People stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!